All good things must unfortunately come to an end, and with its final mission, the fold weapon, Titanfall 2 does it in style. Describing it as heartbreaking may seem a little overdramatic, but I'd say it most certainly is, given not only what happens during the mission itself, but also due to the fact that it may be the last level we ever play as part of a game in Respawn's fantastic Titanfall series. And in this video, I'm going to take a closer look at it from beginning to end. Before we get into the mission proper, here's the Titanfall 2 story so far. Frontier militiaman Jack Cooper is training to become a pilot, elite soldiers linked to giant robots known as Titans, by his mentor Captain Ty Lastimosa. After a militia assault on the planet of Typhon, controlled by the Interstellar Manufacturing Corporation, or IMC for short, Lastimosa is unfortunately killed by the fearsome mercenaries known as the Apex Predators, but not before handing control of his Titan BT-7274 to Cooper. The pair decide to uphold Lastimosa's final mission, Special Operation 217, and together they begin their journey to Major Eli Anderson's last known location. After a battle through a water reclamation facility, a world-building factory, and some time travel shenanigans, the duo discover that the IMC plans to use a superweapon, known as the Fold Weapon and powered by an artifact of unknown origin named the Ark, to destroy the militia planet of Harmony, at which point their focus shifts entirely to prevent it from being used. After a huge battle involving many Titans, Cooper and BT are unfortunately just unable to stop the IMC from escaping with the Ark, but after a heated mid-air confrontation, they are eventually able to get their hands on the Fold Weapon's mysterious power source. BT then saves Cooper from certain death, but the two are captured as a result, which is where the Fold Weapon begins. The mission opens with Kuben Blisk, the leader of the Predators, and his second-in-command Sloan trying to reclaim the Ark from BT.
Oi, Titan! You're gonna open up and give me what I want.
Voice command. Not recognized.
And with BT refusing to give it to them, the pair are quickly forced to up the stakes.
I don't care how broken you are. I know deep down, some things still work in there. Now open up. I'm going to shoot your pilot in the head. You still remember numbers, don't you? I'm going to count to 3.
The encrypted message appearing on the top left of the screen is a nice touch and something that maybe could have been used more during the rest of Titanfall 2's campaign, but there's little time to dwell on it as BT causes a bit of a commotion. Most of the game's final third focuses squarely on you taking the initiative, but for a few brief moments during this scene, you feel somewhat powerless. That is until you try to leave the area without BT, at which point he calls you back and hands you something called a Sear Kit. The Sear Kit contains 3 things: a data knife, a smart pistol, and BT's data core, and if you thought Titanfall 2's final mission was going to continue at a slow pace, you'd be proven wrong just moments later. The smart pistol is a very smart pistol indeed. While the time travel mechanic in Effect and Cause may be the more headline-grabbing twist in the game's campaign, the next few moments spent with this incredible weapon aren't very far behind at all. There's actually very little to using it. Simply aim in the general direction of your enemies and fire, and the gun will do the rest. But it's another fantastic example of how expertly every single one-off mechanic in Titanfall 2 works alongside its core gameplay loop. In terms of how the areas you traverse over the next 2 to 3 minutes are designed, there's little different from any others you've made your way through previously, but when combining it with the smart pistol, it suddenly becomes one of the most memorable in the entire game. What I love about this section is that it makes even those with fairly limited skills, like me, feel like unstoppable killing machines, and to be honest, that is why it's so clever. Anyone can go on YouTube and watch videos of people with immense talent being brilliant at whatever video game they're playing, but I can't think of any other game which actually allows you to experience that for yourself, no matter how good at the game you actually are. Whether you're someone who can land a headshot from the other side of a map, or struggles to hit an enemy from 2 feet away doesn't really matter. Every single person who plays the game gets to have at least one moment during which they feel like they can't be beaten before everything draws to a close. However, as mentioned during the introduction, all good things must come to an end, and eventually Cooper is reunited with BT after placing his data core into an empty Vanguard chassis. I remember watching this scene play out for the first time and almost immediately forgetting about the smart pistol, and I think that's testament to how well Respawn Entertainment develops the pair's relationship over the course of the game. There's no doubt you shared plenty of amazing moments with Cooper and BT throughout Titanfall 2, but it's at this point that it really begins to feel like being reunited with an old friend. Up next is a series of encounters not too dissimilar from those during the rest of the campaign. Putting you in the shoes of a Vanguard Titan is certainly a wise choice, as after the Smart Pistol section there was always the danger of you not feeling quite as powerful as you did before, but thankfully this rather hefty new loadout helps ensure that isn't the case. The scenery during these battles lends proceedings an epic feel as well. You have this gorgeous skybox, the fold weapons spinning in the background, and an even more expansive view of what's happening almost immediately after, and the constant radio messages and announcements over the tannoy give events a real feeling of urgency.
Attention IMC personnel. This is General Marder. The mercenaries have delivered the Ark. Prep the fold weapon.
A final boss battle then follows against Sloan, and much like the other boss battles in Titanfall 2, barring perhaps Viper, I can't help but feel like it is a bit of a letdown. The twist this time is that Sloan will occasionally disappear for a moment or two, while what seems like a greatest hits selection of the game's enemies jumps into the fray. First you take on several IMC Titans, then a group of Reapers, and finally a gaggle of Ticks. And while it does help keep things at least moderately interesting, I can't help but feel like something as awe-inspiring as the fight with Viper was needed here to really end things on a high note. Despite Cooper and BT's best efforts, they're seemingly unable to stop the fold weapon from firing, at which point Blisk makes another appearance. I really like this scene. I've never been the biggest fan of the Apex Predators as antagonists, but Blisk attempting to recruit you before brushing the IMC's General Marder off and leaving left me feeling a little more intrigued about them than I had moments prior. And then, for the last time ever, you hear two of Titanfall's most famous phrases.
Protocol 3. Protect the pilot.
BT, what are you doing?
Trust me.
BT!
And there's not much more I can really add here, other than to say that this scene gets me every time. Well, actually, there is one more thing. If you choose not to respond to BT before he sacrifices himself, you do get a different, albeit nowhere near as heartwarming piece of dialogue.
Protocol 3. Protect the pilot. Goodbye, Jack.
The mission then concludes with a final gameplay section which appropriately focuses on the game's terrific movement, the mechanic which underpins everything great about the title gameplay-wise. Before Cooper manages to escape in the nick of time, Typhon explodes, and Commander Sarah Briggs really makes you feel down in the dumps about what happened to BT.
Pilot Cooper, a lot of people owe their lives to you. And to BT.
A feeling which Cooper then adds to with his own monologue as his data knife, smart pistol and helmet come into view.
Commander Briggs says I'll be inducted into the Marauder Corps and assigned a new Titan. After the techs wipe what's left of my neural link with BT. I don't know what that'll feel like, to get assigned a new Titan. I kinda like the old one.
After this scene, the credits kick in, but if you wait, there's one more surprise yet to come. Now, I think it's safe to say that based off this scene, BT is still alive, having managed to transfer some of himself into Cooper's helmet. At the time you may not have realised it, but there is a hint as to how he might have managed to survive during Effect and Cause.
Pilot Cooper, I have transferred some of my AI functions into your helmet in order to permit communication across time shifts.
He also uses the phrase "trust me" before he plummets to his death, and I like to think that BT may have been trying to give Cooper a little hint that he did have a way of them both emerging from the situation unscathed. And finally, the way the helmet flashes isn't random either. It spells J-A-C-K, or Jack with a question mark at the end in binary, another indication that BT may not have in fact kicked the bucket. So I think it's safe to say that if we ever do get a Titanfall 3, it looks very much like Cooper and BT will still be able to feature. The fold weapon is a very entertaining final mission which gets almost everything right apart from a fairly weak boss battle at its conclusion. The smart pistol section will go down in history as one of the great first-person shooter set pieces, and the fact Respawn manages to make you care as much as you do about BT by the end of Titanfall 2 speaks to just how wonderfully Cooper and BT's story is told. Based on entertainment value alone, I honestly don't think it's going too far to say that Titanfall 2 is one of the best FPS titles ever released. There's barely a dull moment in its 6 or so hour runtime, and the fact Respawn managed to pack so many unique and interesting twists into a campaign which is already a joy to play, thanks to the movement mechanic at its core, is simply astounding. What I also find equally astounding is how many of you out there have taken the time to watch my Titanfall 2 videos and have even been in touch to chat about the game with me, and for that I want to say a sincere thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure covering what is one of my favourite games of all time, and it's been such a brilliant experience sharing that with so many other fans of the series. I am working on a full analysis of the campaign in one video, which I hope to have out in the next month or two, but in the meantime, let's all keep our fingers, toes and everything else we've got a pair of crossed that one day we'll do this again for Titanfall 3. Thanks again for watching, boys, girls and pilots. If you enjoyed the video, do consider liking, subscribing and letting me know your thoughts, and hopefully I'll see you all again soon.